more of a.
How you been doing, all right?
Yeah, except I did something like back, and so
You did?
yeah, I was had a little physical therapy here.
How'd you do that?
You know, I think it was about 10 days ago. I was up on the roof trimming some bushes.
Oh.
You know, there are the vines that go up.
And you bent over awkwardly?
I think so. I didn't really like throw it out or anything, but it was just enough. Like later on in the day, and it hadn't gotten better. So
I did something to my back. About a month ago for about a week. It was
Yeah,
just
I remember
agony.
that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, good news about Colette. Her scan came back positive, so
Oh, good.
no advancement of the cancer. So she's in the pink for another 3 months.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. The dark chocolate is so good.
Yeah, I bet.
It's better for you too, actually.
Yes, dark chocolate is better than milk chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely a milk chocolate fiend.
Are you? Right,
Yeah.
most of us are.
Dark chocolate's good. You know, depends on your kind. I mean,
Dark chocolate's more of an adult flavor.
Yes, and that's Cold Stone, so that's very good. They have very good ice cream, I gotta say.
They do. They do. I always get an ice cream when I come over here. It's just tradition now. Mm-hmm.
So let us.
Mr. Glenn Dickey on.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I had forgotten we actually had him on once before.
We did.
We did back in March.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because what happened was I was looking at his photo to be able to, you know, like upload it to the, website, and it said, do you want to replace it? And I go, replace it? That means I already had him on there. So then I checked up and I said, when did we have him on? We had him in March.
Wow. Months go, or the years go by so fast.
October, right?
I was listening to the Giants on the way in. They had such a strange series of the Dodgers. They win 5-0, they lose 8-0. They win 5-0, today they're losing 3-0.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore.
I was there on Tuesday, the night the Dodgers clinched. I left in the 7th inning. I couldn't take it.
I'll bet a lot of people left. They didn't want to see him celebrate.
Oh, I don't want to see Dodgers celebrate. If you're no self-respecting Giant fans wants to see the Dodgers celebrate anything. You know something, I hate to say it, they'll probably gag again in the playoffs.
They'll probably what?
They'll probably gag again in the playoffs.
Think so? Oh, St. Louis looks a little too tough, don't they?
St. Louis is better. I think the Mets are better. Although, you know, they got Greinke and Kershaw, two of the best in the business right now, so I don't know.
Yeah.
You get those two guys going. Kershaw just never pitched well in the postseason.
Yeah.
His ERA is like over 5.
And then, you know, the Pirates, and who knows, those Cubbies might actually, you know what, if Cubs if the Cubs get into the World Series, a lot of people will be rooting for them, I think.
But you know what's a shame? Is the Cubs and the Pirates are the second and third best teams in the National League. They're better than the Mets and the Dodgers. It's a shame only one of those teams is going to maybe make it to the World Series. Maybe. I don't think either one of them will.
Yeah. I don't want to see St. I never liked St. Louis.
I'm tired of St. Louis.
Yeah, that's the other part.
Tired of the Dodgers. You know, if it's St. Louis and the Dodgers for the National League champ, how are you going to see the Mets?
Yeah.
Let the Mets get in.
Yeah. Also, what's kind of cool is the, I think I told you that, you know, I kept looking for Will Venable for San Diego, and I couldn't find him, and he got traded to.
That's right.
So he gets traded from a bad team to a first place team. That's an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm good. They got the playoffs finally.
Didn't he get to go to the Mets? Wasn't that it?
He went to the Rangers. So, you know, and now they're.
That's even better.
They haven't clinched it, but you know, let's get down between them and Houston.
And Houston right now is hanging on to a half-game lead over California for the second wild card. So Houston's in 2 races.
Yeah.
With 2 games, they probably haven't got a shot at the West because Texas has probably got that wrapped up. Although Texas is playing and the Anaheim Angels this weekend.
How many? What's the magic number for the Rangers?
They just have to win 2 in the next 3 or a half. If they win 2 and then loses 1, they're in.
And there's how many games left?
3. That's the only drama. Everything else is all decided.
Yeah, I like the drama.
I do too. I miss that.
Oh yeah, I know. You gotta get some good stuff in there.
Amazes me, the Giants in 2010, they had to go the last day of the season. They lost 3 in a row.
There you go. Yeah.
They had to go the last day of the season, and then in 2012, they were on the verge of elimination in the first round and the second round. I mean, they swept the World Series, and then in 2014,
Series.
they were a wild card team.
Yeah.
They won 88 games, and they had to go to Pittsburgh and win a wild card game.
Yeah. And then you had the exciting 7th game of the World Series.
That was a thrill. God, with a tying run at third base. You knew Bumgarner was going to pitch out of it, though.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, the most exciting Bay Area sports moment I've covered, not moment, but series of things, was the Warriors winning the championship. That was so much fun.
The 75 one or this one?
This one. Oh, 75 was a lot of fun, too, because that was new for me.
You spilled something there.
I'm such a slob.
No, hold on.
Well, don't let that on your floor.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
That's your bait.
Yeah, you do not want that stuff on your floor. That chocolate stains on your floor.
That's the only downside to that.
To chocolate, yes.
Yeah.
Such a...
Love chocolate.
So I was out surfing today, and there was a young girl. She was probably 24. Really good surfer. I mean, she was better than any of the guys. She was catching. It was small waves, real soft waves, and she had longboard. She was catching the nicest girl in the world. Just real sweet, real pretty.
It's different than the other cute one from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. This gal knew what she was doing. She wasn't just a fun, And I asked her. I said, "You're catching everything." I said, "You're good," because she was like making moves on the waves, and I said, "Are you a pro?" And she goes, "No." She goes, "My dad was a pro though. Taught her how to surf when she was like 5."
Wow.
And she was from Hawaii, of course.
Of course. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah. And she says, "I've never been to world famous Ocean Beach. I always wanted to come here."
Oh, you're in Ocean. Okay.
Yeah. I said, "Well, it's usually much bigger than this. It was real small today."
But you're still catching them.
I got a few. You would have had fun out there. If you were on a buggy board, you would have enjoyed yourself today. Small, but not a lot of current. Beautiful day, beautiful weather. Water was real clear, fairly warm. 70 degrees at the beach.
All right, which number should I call him?
He said to call the landline, which is the first one.
Okay. That's what I would prefer. Get him on the phone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right, because we're doing the second show coming up after this.
Yeah.
A busy time there. Kind of a neat little hookup you got there.
Yeah, that sounds okay.
Hello.
Glenn?
Yeah, hi, Bruce.
Hey, it's Bruce and Edward. How are you?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm just chopping away on a chocolate ice cream cone.
And he didn't bring me one. Nice guy.
I just got back from surfing, so.
All right. Okay, so, hey, Glenn, thanks again for joining us. I was looking back in time. You joined us back in March. Yeah. All right, so what we do, if you remember, we'll do a quick little 2-minute interlude here. I'll save the file, and then we'll come back with with your specific introduction. So, Bruce, you ready to just do a quick little 2-minute?
Mm-hmm.
You're always ready. He's a professional. He's always ready. Here we go. Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. Today's show is going to be extra special because of our guest, Bruce, who's going to come on in the second segment.
Well, one of my favorites for many years, one of the fine columnists here in the Bay Area who had a regular column in the San Francisco Chronicle, which is Northern California's #1 newspaper, Glenn Dickey joins us. And Glenn is a big football guy, so we'll talk a lot about NFL with Glenn, who has been covering the Bay Area scene since I think way back in the early or mid-1960s.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. And in each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question where the first email with the correct answer is going to win a vacation to the Lighthouse Resort Marina. The vacation is not sponsored by the radio station, but by a lighthouse. And let's see, the trivia theme is going to be baseball, since we are coming up on the playoffs pretty soon here.
Baseball.
Baseball. Because baseball have been very, very good to me, right? Okay. In fact,
I wonder if baseball's been very, very good to Glenn.
I don't know. We'll have to ask him when he comes on in the second segment. All right. So this...
Now, you have to pardon me. I'm munching away on a chocolate ice cream cone here.
I know. You have a little on your nose. I don't think you realize it. Say hello to the camera there.
No.
Okay. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding over 8%.
What?
Over 8%.
Jeez.
8.15%, compounded to 8.4%. secured by Bay Area real estate, mostly Bay Area real estate. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. You can check them out at Pacific Private Money.
What if you're for Donald Trump? Is that more conservative?
Don't know. In fact, I was just talking to an old business associate, and he said if Ronald Reagan was running, he'd have to run as a liberal.
That's true. He probably would.
And JFK.
And Richard Nixon would never be admitted to the Republican Party.
And JFK would have been a little bit too conservative.
Yeah. He was a cold warrior. JFK was.
Oh yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis. He didn't let them get away with it.
No, he didn't.
That was our first.
We should talk to Glenn about that, because Glenn was a young man when that was going on. I bet you has some very distinct memories of that.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
All right, so stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. When we come back, we're going to have Glenn Dickey on the phone. All right, so thanks for hanging out with us while I save this first file.
So Glenn, how you been doing? All right?
Yeah, fine.
Good. I'm going to go down and see the Niners get slaughtered on Sunday. Poor Jim Tomsula. He's kind of seems like a nice guy, but he just is a fish out of water.
Oh, yeah.
Boy.
Well, he only got the job because he sucked up to the boss.
I could do that too, though. But I don't think I'm qualified
Yeah.
for it.
Well, he isn't either.
All right.
And that's the thing, though, is if your teammates don't, if your players don't think that, and they don't respect you, that doesn't work too well.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem.
Okay, can kind of get into that a little bit. Okay, just save this file here. Go to the new one here, and all right. So I'll come back and we'll have Bruce introduce you here. All right, and away we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Bruce, who's on the phone with us?
We got Glenn Dickey, longtime Bay Area sports columnist, written for many, many years for the San Francisco Chronicle. Now you can read him online at glenndickey.com. Glenn, I do want to talk about the here and the now, but I have to harken back to really one of the more memorable eras in Bay Area sports history, the 1970s, when the East Bay teams were all doing so well. And in particular, the city of Oakland really held the Raiders in such a special place. Talk a little bit about what it was like covering that team, because you covered a lot of Raider games during an era where they were in the playoffs virtually every year, and they had so many great players. And that's the year that Al Davis always liked to romanticize later on, when he always used to say, greatest players, greatest teams, greatest games.
Well, they had Ben Davidson.
That's right, Big Ben.
Yeah, I was actually a beat writer for the Chronicle for 5 years, 67 through 71. And then I covered them a lot, when I was writing my column, of course. I got to know, I was really close to the players. That was the last time when you could be that close to players. When there wasn't this gap between sports writers and players, media and players in general.
Probably the income gap was.
The income gap.
Yeah.
Well, and also you were the same.
Really, what it was.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
I was covering the Raiders. I mean, they were making more money than I was. Everybody made more money. But it wasn't a lot more, and we were close. I was traveling on planes with them, and during training camp, I'd be eating lunch at the table with players, and then we could talk to them in their rooms. It was a very close relationship. I knew them extremely well. Some of them were really close. Tom Keating and Ben Davis were friends right up until the time they died. It just that kind of thing, and you just don't have that kind of relationship at all anymore.
Let me ask you about Ben Davidson. A lot of people maybe won't remember him, but I remember the big handlebar mustache, and they used to call him a dirty player. What was he like off the field? I mean,
he was he was very smart, for one thing. Saved his money. He had enough when he retired. He bought some apartment houses down in San Diego. He didn't have to work at all after he retired. He did get a job then, turn around the world, and which he enjoyed a lot. But he was really, really smart, and a great sense of humor, very good friend, and we talked a lot in those days. I was even closer to Keating.
Tom Kenny was a very bright guy, wasn't he? I mean, he was really well read too.
Yeah, and he and Ben went on one time. They went on a motorcycle trip down through Mexico.
Hmm.
You know, and you know, they were going through rough country and you know, rough people, but you know, the size of those guys.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
was
You
6'8".
see,
He was about 6'6".
yeah. Ben's about 6'8", about 290, and Tom was about 6'3", about 250. Nobody's gonna mess with those guys.
Right. So they, you know, they had a good time. They came back and they told me all their adventures, and then they wrote it up for Argosy, and we split the money for it.
Nice.
But you know, we had that kind of relationship.
Well, what was it like dealing with John Madden on a daily basis? Because I remember as a young reporter, he was very straightforward with people, and it was just, I think the people that covered him on a regular basis, tell me if I'm wrong, Glenn, really enjoyed his refreshing honesty, because he wasn't somebody who BS'd you.
Oh yeah, he was always that way, and of course I had known, you know, he came to the Raiders at the same time I started covering them in '67. He was linebackers coach, and you know, one time I've never forgotten this. They used to go on this big trip through the East. You know, they play the three teams, and they just stay back there. You know, we were staying in Niagara Falls. You know?
Niagara Falls. Now, why did you stay there?
Well, close to Buffalo, right?
Right. I guess it was. Fairly close to Buffalo, right?
We were playing Buffalo
Yeah.
and the Patriots and the Jets. You know, three-game trip. But anyway, we were staying in Niagara Falls, which is a great place for running. There's not great to be with illegal football players. Anyway, but you know, we were Bob Valley was covered for the Tribune, and he and I were eating lunch one day, and Matt came over, sat down, and talked to us, and started asking us about you know, what we needed from the coaches, and you know, what kind of things you know, the coaches could do to help us out, blah blah blah. He was just an assistant coach his first year in the pros, you know. And he left, and I said to Bob, well, there's a guy who's going to be a head coach pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did have a sense of
Well, when you know, when John Roch left, and there was a lot of speculation that he was going to be the coach, you know, I right away predicted it was Madden.
He was only 33 at the time too. He was just
Right.
a pup. Yeah, he was a young guy, younger than George Blanda.
That's right. Everybody's younger than George.
You got along well with George, didn't you, Glenn?
No, I had, you know, kind of what we call a mixed relationship. George was one of these guys that he never wanted to blame anybody else, you know, if things went wrong. And there was a time when he was having trouble kicking, and I found out later it was the hold that was bad. But, you know, we couldn't see that. We were sitting up there, he'd say, well, you saw it, write it. You know, well, we couldn't see it. We were up in the press box. There was no instant replay. We didn't have TVs up there at all, you know, and so we're watching, you know, and not, you know what it's like. You're sitting in the press box. You're just trying to watch without a TV or any instant replay, anything like that. You know, you can't see very much. You certainly can't see what goes wrong when a play's kicked. So anyway, we found out later that's what it was. But he wasn't going to blame anybody else. Stabler was the same way. You know, they're you know, pretty much identical personalities.
Stabler and Blanda. Yeah, it's interesting too. Stabler just passed away recently. George has been gone a few years, but boy, they were really salt of the earth kind of characters. You know, from rough backgrounds. I know that George's dad was I think a coal miner, and Stabler's dad was just a real rough, really nasty character. But they came from those hard scrabble backgrounds, didn't they?
Yeah, right. But anyway, one time Sam Scheer and I were having lunch down at the grotto, the old grotto in Jack London Square, long gone now. But you know, and Blanda was there, and he came by. And
this is Blanda you're talking about now, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is like '85.
Okay.
And Blanda is eating lunch there too, and he's through. He walked by and comes up and says, "Oh, how's my favorite sports writer?"
There you go.
Which is something I didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, he sat down and talked to us, and we had a great time.
Yeah. Well, Well, you had a very close relationship with the Raiders. I know Al Davis could be testy at times. How was he to deal with? Did you have an understanding with him, or did you?
Well, I got along fine, and I learned a tremendous amount from Davis when I was on the beat. And of course, at that time, they were winning, and then I lost total of 4 regular season games the first 3 years I covered them.
Wow.
And they were in the Super Bowl that first year, which I couldn't cover because the Chronicles was on strike. But at any rate, there was nothing to criticize about that team.
No.
So I was writing good things. I was writing good things about Davis, but he really, the first time I thought I knew football. I'd actually covered Cal and Stanford for a year in '64 before the merger, and we no longer had the Sunday sports.
Hey, Glenn, stay with us for just a minute. We'll come back to
hold
that story.
that-
We
hold
have
that
to cut
thought,
to a
yeah.
quick commercial break here. Okay, so our trivia theme is baseball. And Glenn, if you know the answer, don't say it. When we get back from break, we don't want to ruin it for the audience here. Okay, what very unusual occurrence happened in the 7th game of the 1960 World Series? And we're not talking about, Mazeroski's game-ending World Series.
Oh, we're
home
not.
run,
Okay. Happened as a night game?
No, just what happened during the game. Just the game.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well,
What was very unusual
Yes.
about that game, basically? Yeah. All right? Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We will be right back. All right.
I know the answer to that one.
You do or no?
Yeah. Tony
Really?
Kubek got hit with.
Don't say. Don't say.
Okay. Remember that one, Glenn? Tony Kubek got hit with the ground. And the
throat?
Took a weird hop off a pebble, hit him in the throat. It would have been a double play, and the Pirates ended up scoring 5 runs. That's going back a few years. So, Glenn, how you been doing? All right?
Oh, very good.
Good. Did you guys go out to lunch today?
No, we're going to dinner tonight.
Nice. Where do you like to go?
Night bar.
Oh, there you go. That'll work. Well, what's the name of it again, Glenn? What's the name of the place you're going again tonight?
Night bar.
Ice Bar.
It's down on the lake.
Down on the lake. Okay. Have to check it out. What kind of food is it?
It's I don't know, pretty basic food. It's good, but it's not it's not a sophisticated place.
No, but it's got good, healthy food. There you go.
All right, we're getting ready here.
So we'll pick it up talking about your memories of Al Davis here.
Yeah, and then I'd like to move on to we're talking about the respecting how the players respecting the coach and talk about the 49ers.
Oh yeah.
Let me finish with.
Finish off
definitely.
that story. Okay, let's we'll do the trivia question and we'll go cut right back to you there. Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. When we kept to the first commercial break, we asked this baseball trivia question. What very unusual occurrence happened in the 7th game of the 1960 World Series? Now, Bruce, you have...
Well, it was the Yankees and Pirates. Interesting story about that World Series. Pirates were outscored, I think, something like 54-27, but the Pirates won 4 close games, and that was the clincher that they won at Forbes Field, and they won it partially because a ground ball hit a pebble and bounced up and hit the normally reliable Tony Kubek in the Adam's apple, knocking him out of the game, keeping a rally alive, and the Pirates went on to score 5 runs. The Yankees actually tied the game up in the 9th inning with a couple, and then lost in the bottom of the 9th on Mazeroski's homer.
Okay, now that was a very unusual occurrence, but that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, what's the one you're thinking of?
Okay, Glenn, do you have any ideas on this one?
Nope.
Okay. And I had a hard time believing this one. There was not a single strikeout in the entire game.
Really? That is unusual.
Yeah.
No, I never would have, especially a game like that with all the runs being scored, a lot of hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Glenn was talking a little bit about Al Davis, the late great Al Davis, a Raider owner for so many years, who passed away just a few years ago, and Glenn got to know Al Davis quite well. And Davis wasn't that much older than you, Glenn, so there was kind of it must have been kind of nice. You guys could relate to a lot of things, and he was pretty open with you in those days, wasn't he?
Well, yeah. When as I said, I played news football. I'd covered Cal Stanford 1 year, and blah blah blah. But I sat down with Davis, and he started talking about a few things about football, and all of a sudden I thought, I don't know anything. So my philosophy always has been that you look for guys that know more about the subject than you do and listen to them.
Good point.
This was example of him.
Well, what kind of things did he say that suddenly made you realize?
He discussed how, he was very candid with me. Always saying it was off the record, of course. I was not supposed to quote him on any of this. But he'd say, like, we've got only the 10th best tight ends in the league. We've got to get better there. That type of thing. He analyzed players by position. He would say, we've got to be able to do this, and he would look at other players on other teams. He thought Joe Namath was the best quarterback he'd ever seen.
Really?
Period. This was before Namath's knees really went bad. And, this was before the I guarantee it, too. But he was really impressed. Namath was one guy quarterback he really feared.
Now, he didn't seem, Davis for some reason though, didn't seem like the kind of owner like Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner seemed to be always in, he like wanted to be on the field coaching. Davis seemed to be like, the impression I got was that he was very involved, but he kind of stepped back a little bit. Is that really true?
He never wanted, was briefly, and when he first came there.
He never wanted to be a coach, you said, right?
Coach,
yeah, you're right.
But then he went off and was AFL commissioner, and thinking he could be commissioner of the combined operation, which he never had a chance at all. But when he came back, he was not going to coach. He had to be supervising in a position where he could second guess the coach.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Steinbrenner was more active.
But he had that one guy for so many years. I mean, John Madden told me in later years that Al wasn't always the easiest guy to work for, but he said he liked the fact that he only had to go through one guy, and that was Al. He didn't have to didn't have to go through a general manager. Didn't have to worry about the owner. Al was the owner, general manager. He was that made the job a lot easier for John Madden, I guess.
Also saves on payroll.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right.
Well, Madden said, when he took the job, he was very inexperienced, and he said he was going to lean heavily on Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 3 years or so, they played Davis's style, which is throw the ball deep. And then Madden got, he could see that really wasn't working all that well. And when the league got better, and by that time they had joined up with the old NFL, so it was one league. But their conference was pretty tough,
Oh, yeah. Before we get into the here now, I do want to ask one question about a great player from the past that a lot of our listeners probably have never heard of this guy, but he was really the Jerry Rice of his time for about 3 or 4 years back in the late 60s, early 70s. The great Warren Wells, who had some major off-field problems and it doomed his career. He was an amazing athlete, though, Glenn. I think he caught something like 38 touchdowns in 3 years, and he really was like the Jerry Rice of his time, wasn't he?
Well, he was a different type of receiver, though, because he could get to top speed immediately. He'd come out of his break and be going top speed, and you never see a receiver do that. They slow down a little bit as they come out of the break, but he would come out of top speed, and that's the way he got away from defensive coverage. So he would outrun guys, and so he was not. Rice was just a great pass catcher, and he had good speed, but not sprinter speed, but he had very good speed. But his talent was just catching the ball. He was a great receiver, but Wells was great at making that move and getting free and then going for the touchdown.
Yeah, it's such a tragedy that he washed out of football at the age of 26. Otherwise, they'd probably still be talking about him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Glenn, going on to the here and now, we were kind of touched on a little bit about the respect of the players to their coaches and how successful a team's going to be. Of course, we're 49er fans out here in California. It seems, are you kind of getting the impression the players are just not playing as well for this coach?
Well,
you're talking about Jim Tomsula.
I don't think they have any respect for him because they know the only reason he got it is because he sucked up to the bosses. He was not qualified for this job at all. There's no experience. He was the head coach of NFL Europe, which is a joke league. They put in only so they could sell a lot of merchandise over there. No, I'm not kidding. That's when they did it. I mean, NFL properties made a ton of money off of NFL Europe, but it was not much of a league. He's not much of a coach. He doesn't know. You know, you can see last Sunday, he just looked dazed at what's happening. He has no answers at all. And the worst thing of all to me was Kaepernick had a terrible, terrible game. But he left him in the whole way. In the last few minutes, he's still out there. What does he want to do? Get him injured?
Yeah, exactly.
Meaningless. The game was totally out of control.
Yeah, you might as well give a second quarterback a shot and, see what he can do and prove himself.
So the guy's having a bad time anyway. Get him out, talk to him a little bit on the sidelines, calm him down, say, it's not your fault or whatever you want to do. Yeah. But get him out of the game.
I don't understand that. I agree with you. I do not for the life of me understand how when you're just getting pummeled, why keep your quarterback in there? Let the other guy play and sit down and get the guy out of the game. It's like a pitcher getting hammered. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, right. You wouldn't do that with a quarterback in any situation that. I mean, no matter whether the quarterback was doing poorly or doing great or whatever, he's your starting quarterback. You want to keep him healthy. You do not want to get him injured in a game where you're losing by 40 points.
Well, yeah, not only that, but you also want to give your second-string quarterback real experience rather than just, practice.
The only problem is Blaine Gabbert is the second-string quarterback, and that he's never going to be a first-round, or I should say, a first-string quarterback.
Well, he was in a bad situation. He had a bad team around him.
He did.
And so, maybe he's a decent quarterback. We really don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But whether he is or not, he should have been in there. Kaepernick should not have been in there that long.
How does this team go, though, Glenn, from being so good in a couple of years to just being so bad? Is it strictly the numbers of guys that left the organization and Harbaugh leaving? I mean, they lost a lot of talent. Patrick Willis, Chris Borland, and Justin Smith from the defense, from the offense, two of their linemen. How do you, and Frank Gore, who was a stalwart running back, how do you replace those guys?
Yeah, it's hard to lose that kind of talent, and they've had some injuries too. They did Harbaugh a huge favor by pushing him out. He's back in Michigan, turning that team around, and having a great time, and probably laughing like crazy what's happening with the 49ers.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Hey, is it too early to make predictions for the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it too early to make predictions for the World Series?
Yes, because baseball is a joke. The postseason, the way they practically everybody gets in, and
well, not our Giants, not our A's.
Giants last year didn't come close to winning their division.
That's right. They got it as a wild card with 88 wins. They got hot, though. That's the key.
Got hot in the playoffs, and so they're the best in the world.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think so.
I'm not a big fan of the wild card. Never have been.
I think I like it just because it adds for excitement.
Anyway.
But I understand about it doesn't make the best. Hey, stay with us, Glenn. We're going to have you on for just one more quick segment, okay?
Okay.
All right. So here's our second trivia question. We always, every once in a while, I have to ask a somewhat easy question. Otherwise, Bruce, I see the smoke come out of his ears. So, okay. In July 1962, Kansas City A's batter Ed Charles hit an inside-the-park home run over the head of which Yankee center fielder? The first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to that question. Don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Okay, let me save this last file and we'll have on for one more and then we'll be done. Thanks again for staying with us so long. Is there anything you want to cover in this last segment here, Glenn?
No, you're doing a pretty good job.
Okay.
The high spots.
Ready?
We are.
Excellent. And away we go. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, along with Bruce McGowan. We cut to the second commercial break. We asked this trivia question in July, the baseball question. In July 1962, Kansas City A's batter Ed Charles hit an inside the park home run over the head of which Yankee center fielder?
Had to be Mickey Mantle, right? Who else was playing center field? Mickey Mantle.
No, it was Roger Maris.
Roger, well, he always played right field.
I know. On this day, Mantle played right field as he had just come off from back surgery.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that had to be a
okay.
little bit of a trick question there.
Maris had a great arm, though. That's why they put him in right field.
That's usually what they do. That's like a Clemente, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He was a terrific defensive player.
So we have Glenn Dickey still on the phone. Thank you again, Glenn, for staying with us.
I got to ask you about the Raiders because we've been knocking the Niners, but out here on the West Coast, the Raiders look like the real deal. I mean, they've got an easy early part of the season schedule here coming up with the Chicago Bears, but this team looks like they finally turned the corner.
Yeah, I think, I like Jack Del Rio a lot anyway, and he's got some good assistants there. They've got the things in place pretty. This is not a great team, but I think it's a team that, they probably could finish like 8-8, 7-9, something like that. They're not going to be contending for the title.
But how do the players, if internally they feel the same thing, how do they go out all the time? And, you try, but if you really think that you really don't have a shot at getting into the playoffs, what does that do to you mentally?
Well, that's been one of the problems for the Raiders is they were down for so long, and then they start off and they lose, with their first 6 games last year. It's really hard when you develop a culture, either winning or losing. Some teams, like the 49ers developed a winning culture under Bill Walsh, and they either won or they came damn close, every year when he was the coach. After the first couple of years, which are pretty rocky, but you can develop a losing culture too, which has definitely happened with the Raiders. And when you lose consistently over a period of years, it's a little hard to break out of that, to tell yourself, well, we can win, but you've got to change the attitude first. And I think, with Del Rio there, he's a very positive guy, and he's really trying to work on that. And I think so far he's done pretty good. But we'll see, when they get beaten. And it looked like the first game was going to be, oh God, here we go again.
Well, interesting when you mentioned about players and their attitude. It got me immediately thinking about Papelbon and Harper, and just how they're not doing that well. And you don't want a guy to get hurt running it out, but then you also want him to try. And the whole idea about Papelbon, he's not an everyday player, and does he have the right to? What are your feelings on all that?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well, he's talking about, you remember, Glenn, the little incident in the Washington Nationals dugout where Papelbon attacked Bryce Harper because Harper apparently didn't run out a fly ball.
Yeah.
And they had words. I mean, to me, it's just two hotheads who are frustrated.
And that's pretty much the way I did figure it too. It's up to the manager to kind of restore control there.
Good luck there, huh? And one of those guys is going to have to go, and it ain't going to be Bryce Harper.
Yeah. Well, apparently Papelbon has a notorious reputation for causing.
He's what they call a red ass. He really is.
Oh,
yeah. Red ass. That's it.
There are guys like that. Kurt Schilling who got in trouble for his comments.
He was, Kurt Schilling was one of the rudest people I ever remember interviewing him. He'd get in a post-game situation where he'd won the game, and he was answering questions that were supposed to be, hey, tell us about this wonderful game you pitched. And he acted so self-righteous and so insecure. I'd never met a guy who had no reason to be that way.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I thought those guys, when I first started covering the Giants in the 70s, Jack Sanford, he was a very good pitcher for him, but boy, if he lost a game, you just didn't want to clubhouse with him.
There were certain pitchers that were like that. Dave Steve was like that with the Toronto Toronto Blue Jays, and of course Jack Morris, who who later pitched with Detroit. Both those guys, Glenn, I always remember going into the locker room to get interviews and having to talk to those guys when they'd lose, and they were it was like pulling teeth with some of these guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So.
Unlike who was the pitcher who I think Derek Jeter had come. Derek Jeter was usually really calm, but kind of got on his case because when they were losing the World Series, he goes, "Well, or at least we're having fun," which he probably said tongue in cheek, but Jeter was really upset.
All right.
That's not something I want to mention. Derek Jeter. Oh my goodness. Well, Glenn, you covered sports a long time, and it has changed a lot in terms of the way the athletes deal with the media. Do you feel lucky that you were around doing it during a time where there was less of this, instant, like the Twitter and the Facebook and all that stuff? I mean, that's just gotten over the top to me. I mean, and I have to say, I do Facebook, I've done Twitter before, but I just find it repulsive that athletes sometimes use that instead of trying to, develop a relationship with the media.
In fact, when you interview them, they just say, "Just check my Twitter account."
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, you must feel.
It's different. I haven't been talking to athletes for some time now, it is a different way. And when I was still talking to them, which was a few years ago, but with the 49ers, I'd be down in the locker room, and I didn't really notice any big change. But I knew, as I said, when I was covering the Raiders, it would never be like that again. Players would treat you as equals.
It's interesting too with Glenn. Glenn should hear this, and he probably heard this before. Several players I knew who were with the 49ers, let's face it, if you're writing a column every week, even if the team is very good, you're going to have moments where you're going to say things that are not too complimentary or critical, right. And they have to be, and the players aren't going to like it. But I remember hearing a couple of guys on the 49ers just back in the 80s would tell me about people in the media. They'd say, "Yeah, Glenn Dickey's one of the toughest guys, but I will give the guy credit. If he rips you, the next day he's there facing you." So to explain why, and that's one thing you didn't hide from these guys, Glenn.
I didn't hide at all.
Yeah, I remember George Atkinson went after Glenn one time and was just screaming at him, and it was funny because you guys actually ended up being pretty good friends.
Yeah, that was so funny. I was sitting with Tim McDonald on the other side. Jerry was just going up and down the locker room, just screaming at me, and
Jerry Rice was?
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah.
Really? What did you say to inflame his passion?
Well, I said that Steve Young should not be going to him as a primary receiver any longer.
Ooh, whoa!
Them's his fighting words.
Well, Jerry had lost step, and Terrell Owens was a much better target for her.
Yeah.
See, that's the hardest part, is knowing when to hang it up.
Yeah, the truth hurt. And, but, I was there, and Tim said, "Well, it sounds like you got under somebody's skin."
Hey, Glenn, we have a few more minutes. Do you have any exciting stories you want to share with us, or any favorite memories?
Oh, there are a lot of things that I really enjoy. Of course, my time with Bill Walsh was just so enjoyable because he taught me so much about football and a lot of other things. He had a lot of other interests. We talked about politics sometimes, and we were on the same page politically. But it just and Tony La Russa, I learned so much from Tony. A lot of the writers didn't like him because he had no patience with the guy who just came up and said, "Hey, Tony, what do you think of your team?"
or this is what Tony would hate. He'd say, if I hear one guy coming up to me and saying, "Talk about what so and so did today," I'm going to scream. Because you ask me some specific question. I don't blame him either, because some of the media is...
like a specific, why did you call a hit and run? I mean, you want a specific situation like that? Yeah.
The questions, and I got a baseball education.
Oh, yeah.
He is so smart, and he knows so much about... He had so many ideas, and, it was really funny. He was put in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he was also in Bashoff Hall of Fame, and I wrote the thing for his Bashoff thing. And I called him up to talk to him about it, and and he, I asked him a question, and he just got talking, and finally he stopped. He said, "Oh," he says, "I've just been going on, but you asked a good question." He says, "You always did."
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, you know, Tony La Russa was a tough guy, but if he liked you, he would give you a compliment. I remember when he'd lose a game, when the A's would lose, he would sit there and stare at the TV set, which was up in the corner of the room, and keep his eyes away from the writers, and he'd answer them with short, kind of, quiet little bursts of, 3 or 4 words. I remember one time I asked him a question he didn't like, and he looked over at me and he goes, "You're better than that. You're better than that."
Yeah, for some reason that reminds me of the story that I watched. I was in not the press box, but I was in some luxury suite, and ours was right next to Sandy Alderson's, and the game was it was getting into the top of the ninth, and we were tied. The A's, I can't remember who they were playing, and a fly ball gets hit to Ricky Henderson, but it's in foul territory, and it's one of those where if you had an extra 10 seconds to think, you'd say, "Let it go," because there was a guy on third base. There was no way he was going to catch it and be able to throw the guy out at home. And sure enough, Ricky, the natural instinct is to catch the ball. So he catches the ball, and there's no way he doesn't even come close to throwing the guy out. And the run scores, they go ahead, and I look immediately over to Sandy Alderson, and he's throwing chairs up against the window.
Is that right?
Because we all knew what he shouldn't have done. But
yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
That happens. It happens. Yeah.
Well, they had when the Hunt family bought the team, and Roy Eisenhart was running it. I mean, he was not running it. He was the head guy in the executive office. And Sandy was there, and then they brought in La Russa after a while. I mean, they had a lot of real smart guys.
Yeah, Walt Jocketty was there for a while too. Yeah, I think he was Sandy's right-hand man.
Eisenhart.
Yeah.
Is about the smartest man I've ever known.
Very bright guy. Roy Eisenhart you're talking about, yeah.
But we had long discussions, and only occasionally did they land on baseball.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, we talked about everything.
Well, Glenn, we're going to definitely have to have you on again. It was a lot of fun having you on Sports Econ 101. Thank you so much for joining us, okay?
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
All right. We're gonna let you go now. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Good guy. Yeah, Glenn and I have known each other a long time. Glenn is a little bit older, but boy, he's seen a lot of, especially the NFL. I mean, he covered it really closely and was lucky, as he said, to cover it during a special time here in the Bay Area when the Raiders were good. And then he got to cover the Niners closely in the 80s when they were great.
Well, it's like I asked him something about baseball. He don't like baseball, do we?
Yeah, he's not a baseball guy. Glenn is much more of a football guy. Some writers are that way. They're football people.
I wonder if he likes the wild card in football.
I don't know. That's a good question. Probably not.
Okay, here's our final trivia question. What pitcher set the record for hitting 9 RBIs in a single game?
Wow.
The first email, I'll give you a hint, it took place in the 1960s. Okay?
Oh, okay.
The first email, because of course back then, they didn't have the...
I know the answer to this
you do know that
yes,
one.
I do.
Yeah, they didn't have designated hitters. So, anyway, this was in the National League, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you do know the answer to this. Oh, very good.
Yes, I do.
Okay, the first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question: what pitcher set the record for hitting 9 RBIs in a single game? All right, stay with us because Sports Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments.
Somebody here in Santa Fe was calling me, and 3 times they called me. It was starting to piss me off. I kept hanging up.
Yeah, but I just put mine on silent.
I was trying to do that. Like, annoying.
I keep getting calls from people speaking Spanish.
Oh, that happens.
And it's like the same people. Like, come on, guys.
What I hate is when I get the calls, the solicitors in India.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Are you in front of your computer? In fact,
I said one time. What time is it where you are? Oh, 3 in the morning.
And my name is Ralph.
Yeah. Right.
So this guy calls me at home. He says, "Hello, Mr. Brown. I'm calling you because Microsoft." Blah, blah, blah. I said, "Really, calling you? You're calling from Microsoft?" "Oh yeah, it's calling." They knew it wasn't. And are you in front of your computer? I'm like this, right? I go, "Yeah, actually I am." Okay, now go ahead and hit these buttons, right? And so what I do is I just pretended to do it.
And I go,
"Wait a minute. My screen just went black. What did you do? Did you just hack my computer? I started yelling at the guy.
What did you do?
No, Mr. Brown, he hung up. I said, is this a scam?
This is a scam. Did you hear about the Facebook thing recently? Somebody was being spread that we were going to have to pay $5.99 a month to be in Facebook. It was all a scam. It's been done.
Funny. I didn't hear that. No.
Yeah.
Who were they going to pay it to? Supposedly?
I have no idea.
Or was it just a rumor or a scam?
It was a rumor. But a lot of people who were on Facebook, friends of mine, bought it, and somebody, immediately this friend would say, "Don't believe it! Don't believe it!"
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
What about that lady who got scammed?
Yeah.
IJ?
Yeah. Heard about that.
All right, let's get some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. When we cut to the final commercial break, we asked this trivia question. What pitcher set the record for hitting 9 RBIs in a single game?
That would be, I believe it would be Tony Cloninger against the Giants.
That's right.
In 1966, he had 2 grand slams.
That is
Tony
2 grand
Cloninger.
slams and an RBI single.
And he later became a very good pitching coach with the Yankees when the Yankees won all those division titles and World Series titles back in 2000 and 2001.
Well, you know what? I'm very impressed. That makes up for the other 2 that you didn't practice. I mean, you get the right year.
I remember listening to. I was at Stinson Beach with my parents. Had the transistor radio on, and I'm listening to this, and I'm going, "What the heck is going on here?" Tony Cloninger.
I mean, how many guys have hit 2 grand slams?
Yeah, let alone a pitcher.
Well,
he hit him off a couple of pretty lousy Giant pitchers.
Yeah, 66. They didn't have a good team. So
actually, no, they did. They were in the pennant race right to the last week, but they had that particular day. They didn't have a good relief pitching. That was the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, so here's our thoughts for the day. You gotta love our universities when they can produce basketball seniors who say, and I quote, "You guys line up alphabetically by height, and you guys pair up in groups of 3, then line up in a circle."
Oh, yeah, boy.
And Fox Sports Net color commentator George Raveling said,
former Wazoo coach.
Okay.
Washington State.
When I went to Catholic high school in Philadelphia, we just had one coach for football and basketball. He took us all. He took all of us who turned out and had us run through a forest. The ones who ran into trees were on the football team.
That's good. I like that.
I like that one.
That's a good one.
All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101 because we're going to be giving away we're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. Also giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, your host. We'll see you next week.
See you tomorrow. Next week, I should say, America.
All right, so long. All righty.
I'm going to find out who this mystery caller is here.
Yeah. Why are you calling me?
Why are you calling me?